of 9:30 having arrived, the meeting of the Tourist Development Council on Friday, May 28th, 2021 is hereby called to order. I would like to ask our minute secretary to call the roll and establish a quorum.
Mayor Geller, you are here. Dan Atkins.
I are.
Kamasha Sevilla.
You're good. I'm here.
Andreas Ianu. Casey Kozlowski. Not yet. Mayor Just Levy. Ramola Matwani. Tim Petrillo.
Here.
Mayor Dean Trentalis.
Here.
Lauren Zirin.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum, and I believe Casey is still planning to be here, but not yet.
All right, thank you. Everyone, I believe, has had the opportunity to review the minutes of the last meeting. Is there a motion to, first, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? And if not, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mayor Levy,
I'll second.
seconded by Mayor Trentalis. And so Mayor Geller will call it now. Well, is there any discussion, any debate, any objection? Any objection? Seeing no objection, show the minutes adopted. Let me call on Randall for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau Revenue reporting. Can you do reporting? Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor,
Glaring at me.
President Ritter, and members of the Tourist Development Council. My name is Randall Lukauer. I'm the manager of the Tourist Development Tax Section, and I'm here to report on the Tourist Development Tax collections for our March 2021 reporting period. The CVB portion of the March 2021 reporting period revenue collected through April 30th, 2021 totaled $6,735,277, which was an increase of 98.4%, or $3,340,285 when compared to the same month last year. The CVB portion of the fiscal year 2021 revenue collected through April 30th, 2021 totaled $23,303,889, which was a decrease of 28.3%, or $9,185,779 when compared to collections for the same period last year. The CVB portion of the March 2021 reporting period collections decreased by 11.9%, $910,328 when compared to collections for the same month in fiscal year 2019. The CVB portion of fiscal year 2021 revenue collected through the March 2021 reporting period decreased by 32.1%, $11,026,260 when compared to the same period in fiscal year 2019. The top 10 hotel March 2021 revenues decreased an average of 61% when compared to the same period last year and represented 15.7% of the total revenues collected during the month. Total revenue from all hotels totaled $7,164,850 and represented 70.9% of total revenue collected during the month. Non-hotel revenue totaled $2,937,050 and represented 29.1% of total revenue collected during the month. We had 58 new accounts, which were 696 units, which were added in March 2021, and to date in fiscal year 2021, a total of 215 new accounts representing 2,128 units were added. The collection expense for March 2021 was $52,010. The CVB's portion was $28,185, which represented 0.4% of the CVB's monthly reporting period revenues. To date, in fiscal year 2021, CVB expenses totaled $163,779, which represents 0.7% of the CVB reporting period revenue collected through April 30th, 2021. Concludes my report. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing no questions,
Thank you.
Okay, according to the agenda, the next item is the chair's report. I have a lot to report on. I'll just mention two quick items. First is just to compliment CVB and Chair Ritter. If you look at where we were a year ago and look at where we were now, I know that Broward has recovered Mike was not on, so thank you. If I'm going to, I'll start over on complimenting the staff so that everybody can hear that. Broward recovered from the pandemic much faster than most other areas. And our tourism, which was giving all of us substantial heartburn a year ago, and we weren't worried about heartburn, then we were worried about COVID, but still, the fact is that we just came back faster than just about any other area I know, and I have to attribute a lot of that to the good work that was done by the CVB in terms of the planning, the advertising, and everything else that the CVB did. So Stacy and the rest of your staff, congratulations, and again to the board, congratulations on providing the leadership on that. The second issue I wanted to report on was very quick, and I know I'm going to break Stacy's heart on this, but I have been pushing very, very hard for a film commission in Broward, and I have assurances from the county administrator that this will be occurring, and part of this will be that we will be moving the Stacy's favorite part, I know the thing that she thinks makes the CVB go, which is the film industry. It will be moved to the Office of Small Business and Economic Opportunity, which is led by Sandy Michael McDonald. And I know, I had to battle Stacy to get her to give up the film because she was intent on clinging to it, but in the end I was able to prevail. Yeah. If that's an inside joke, if you don't know, she's been dying to get that out of CVB for a long time. So congratulations, that will be done in the next budget year. And the last issue, I'm wondering if any of you have any idea how we're getting our cruise industry back, because as far as I can tell, and I've been involved in this. I wrote letters. Oh, by the way, I'm going to claim credit for that completely because I wrote a letter to the CDC and the congressional delegation about 1 week before the CDC passed their order reopening the industry. I wrote them and said, you need to reopen it, and a week later they did. And then you may remember that the chair of NCL said, well, we don't like the way they reopened it, which was 95% of passengers and 98% of crew had to be vaccinated, and you had to wear masks. And the chair of NCL said, well, we think that's crazy, and we're going to sue the CDC because we want 100% vaccination for passengers and crew, but no masks. And I sent a letter to the CDC saying, they're right, I agree with them, and 6 days later, they did that. So I'm just claiming credit for it. I know that they listen to whatever I tell them to do. But right now, I'm just curious, because I think we can all agree that the cruise industry is a very, very important component of tourism here in Broward. And the CDC says, fine, we will let you do either of these two, either 95% passenger, 98% crew vaccinated and masks, or 100% passenger and crew and no mask. I think that's reasonable. The governor has said that neither of those is acceptable because he considers those to be COVID passports or whatever it is he's referring to them as. So the governor, who has sued the federal government saying you can't keep this crucial industry from reopening, appears now to be the one that will be keeping that crucial industry from reopening, because CDC has given two methods of reopening. This is a serious question, because some of you may have some ideas that I don't. Does anybody here know how we actually reopen the cruise industry? Because we all want it. Celebrity announced that they will be the Celebrity Edge will be the first paid cruise in the country when it's scheduled to sail out of Port Everglades. on June 25th. And Stacy, do you have any idea? Does anybody have any idea what's going to happen? Because I'm at a loss. Anybody? I'll take that as a no. Well, Mayor Trentalis.
Yes. So I have a keen interest in this, as well as all of us, and obviously the governor has got to rephrase his approach to this, because in order to save face, I mean, obviously he feels that he's made this political.
Really?
Yeah, and yeah, I know, and so the thing is that I've been going around basically saying, government needs to stay out of the way of private enterprise, and I know that that's a tenet of republicanism. So I'm approaching it from that angle, because private enterprise has made this determination. But the point is that government's sole purpose is to protect people, right? And whether it be, so, we have police departments, we have fire departments, and now we have a pandemic, and we have a situation where government has recommended how best to protect people. And so private enterprise is agreeing with that, okay? But we have another level of government that's saying, oh, we know better than you. And so, I think that level of government, the state in particular, has abdicated its role in protecting people by interfering with private enterprise trying to undertake its best efforts to protect its customer base. I mean, we all understand that cruise ships have a very sordid history of disease on in their ships. I mean, years ago there was Legionnaire's disease, and then we have the norovirus, and ships are a unique environment in which cleanliness is there's probably, these ships are probably cleaner than my kitchen table. I mean, it's like,
I've seen your kitchen
yeah,
table.
hey. So
Just Joshing.
so and for government to interfere and say, we know better, is clearly a step sideways that needs to be readdressed. So whenever a news outlet calls me, that's the position that I've taken, and I think that it's the only way ships are going to be able to sail out of our port.
Well, I would hope that those people, I think we all agree that that we need the cruise industry back. And, the governor and I are not exactly drinking buddies. So for those of you that do have ties to the governor, I would urge that you please urge him. If he's looking for a face-saving method, the answer is, well, they're actually not doing business in Florida. They're really doing business on the high seas. So if he's looking just to save face, that may be how. But I think it's critical that those of you, I won't say those of us, those of you that have ties to the governor, try and reach out to him and ask him to, permit the cruise industry to reopen. Romola?
I agree with Mayor private enterprise. So if there is an issue, if there is a liability issue, it is their responsibility. Why should government interfere? So as mayors, as a county mayor, city mayor, is there official communication to the governor?
I will be happy to send a letter with Mayor Trentalis, a joint mayor's letter, but,
Sorry, Mayor.
yes,
I apologize for interrupt, but if you don't press, nobody can listen to you.
I'm on. My mic is
No,
on.
Not you, sir. She was totally off.
Oh,
Romola,
Mayor Trentalis?
and,
Did,
The lady on the.
oh, Romola.
oh,
Okay, thank you.
sorry.
Okay. It wouldn't be a bad idea for Mayor Trentalis and I to send a joint mayor's letter, but the governor has indicated statewide that he is opposed to what he calls vaccine passports, which would, the whole point of that is they are trying to prohibit businesses from requiring proof of vaccination. and he's issued an executive order, and then he had the legislature pass a law prohibiting vaccine, what they refer to as vaccine passports, which are requiring proof of vaccination. I happen to enjoy cruising, and I would not consider going on a cruise ship that I didn't know 100% of the crew and passengers had been vaccinated, and even though I'm double vaccinated, and I know that that's what the cruise ships want to do. Yeah. Well, okay, no. But so I would recommend, and Dean, I'll reach out to you about, doing a joint letter, but I think that it is important that those of you that have ties to the governor reach out, and whatever face saving is necessary, we'll happy to do. But I think we all agree that the cruise industry is important, and right now there's a standoff because the governor cannot force, cruises are classic interstate or international. The governor cannot overrule the federal government, but he may be able to say, well, they have federal permission to sail, but I'm not permitting them to sail out of our state ports. So, again, I will urge the rest of you to contact the governor, and Mayor Trantalis and I will work on a letter. I will close on one other quick issue on cruises. I assume everybody has heard that Disney has chosen to basically move out of Port of Miami, and their exclusive South Florida port will be Port Everglades. We're currently, in negotiations with them, but I think that's great news for us because Disney cruises, based on their family nature, they tend to stay a little bit longer than the people that fly in and out that are not families. So I think that's great news for Broward County as well.
Also, Celebrity Edge, they are sailing on June 26th.
Yes, except the governor says they're not. So,
but it's coming message from them. They are. So
I understand
there is some
that,
arrangement.
and then that is their plan. But the governor's order currently, it would be saying no. Broward County, if the governor, we run the port. And if we get an order from the governor that says they can't sail, I presume we will be obeying the governor's order because, federal has to listen to state, state has to listen to federal, county has to listen to state, and by the way, mayors, cities have to listen to county. But that's just the way it works, and if we get at the order from the superior government, we can't contradict the federal government, but we also will have to obey an order from the state.
It's a huge piece of business, so I think even like FRLA and some organizations, at least I'll reach out to them that he should hear from all of us as individuals and as organizations.
I agree. The governor made a big issue of saying we need the cruise industry back, but it appears to me that he's the one actually preventing it now, so we'll see what happens. Are there any other questions before
Mayor,
we turn it over to the president?
I think that if we do a joint letter, I think that needs to include Hollywood, obviously, because the port is in Hollywood.
Happy to join in.
Okay. Actually, I was the vice chair of the delegation, legislative delegation. I'm the one who actually wrote the bill that resolved the fight between the county, the city of Fort Lauderdale, city of Dania Beach, and Hollywood. So yeah, I do know how.
That was almost 30 years ago.
I was in the legislature then. Yeah. That was Port Mabel, I remember, and I remember sitting down with everybody writing that bill. So yes, I absolutely know that the majority of the port was in the city of Hollywood. So, is there anything else before we turn it over to President Ritter? If not, Madam President, that's what it says.
Thank you.
President's report.
Thank you,
Stacy
Mayor.
Ritter, President, CEO.
Thank you very much.
Madam President.
Thank you. You can just call me Russ's wife.
Yes, ma'am. Do you know that I've known her and her husband longer than they have known each other?
True.
True story.
That's true. And yet I chose him. So, today,
I was already married.
so is he. So was I. Who was that? Oh, that was in law school. My God, why do people still yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
I'm feeling like I missed out.
Anyway, the president's report. Let's reset here. I have some good news, and it was really nice too. Casey's looking at me. You understand what I'm saying there, Casey? Okay. I mean, you're such a baby. I wasn't sure that you got where we were going with that. Okay. Lots of good news. This TDC meeting, which is a nice change of pace. So first of all, I know that some of you know this, but we Visit Lauderdale rejoined Visit Florida 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. And last week they put out their economic development grant rules. This is the $6 to $8 million that they received under the previous administration, which was issued to them back in December. They put out the rules last week. It is in a 20-80 match, 20% on our side, 80% on their side. It's not 80% in dollars necessarily, but it is 80% value. So we are going to be investing $200,000 in that in a winter campaign with Visit Florida and receiving an $800,000 cash/in-kind value as a result. Don't know yet where the placements are. All we had to do by next Friday was let them know that we want to. It's first come, first serve. So we wanted to get in there before all the money was gone. So that happened this week. The Visit Florida's Governor's Conference is at the Diplomat in September. We would like to sponsor some of that conference, but that is not in the budget. So I'm asking today if there is a recommendation for Visit Lauderdale to sponsor up to $30,000 for the Governor's Conference.
So moved.
Second. So moved by Mayor Levy.
Second.
Second, Tim.
Yeah, I think it's great. Just
I
to
have a
comment real
question.
quick.
I have a question.
Discussion of this, Mayor Trentalis.
I read the paper about Visit Florida, and it said in the headline, I don't know if this was accurate, that they were targeting certain countries to draw into the area, and somehow Mexico was indicated as a place where they're going to focus them. Are we having a problem attracting Mexicans into this country? I mean, I don't get that.
Mexico's big for us, and as we as the world reopens, we have to reintroduce ourselves to a lot of places, the citizens of which were thinking about other things over the past year. Would we necessarily go to Mexico? No. I actually think it's a little early to be reaching out internationally, and while we have rejoined, it doesn't mean that our issues with them have gone away. So we will participate in what we think works for us and not in what we don't. But some of the issues that we've had with them over the past couple of years haven't gone away, and that would be one of them because they've been spending money on international representation during this pandemic. So,
Just to,
Mayor Trentalis, did that answer your question?
It doesn't really, but it's not her decision. So
Okay.
I just was curious, how that country of all countries was chosen when, there are so many other countries that, that we would seek to draw attendance from. But again, I'm not going to, supplant my judgment over theirs, but I just think that we have a limited amount of money and we're trying to target, historical as well as new markets, and I just didn't think that was a priority. I mean, we draw a lot of people from south of the border because we're just a natural fit. So why we would target them, it just didn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Is there any additional debate on Mayor Levy's motion?
I was I was just going to add
Yes.
that Miss Mexico had won the Miss Universe pageant at the Hard Rock about a few weeks ago. So there is a growing relationship with Mexico.
What I'm saying is we already have a relationship. We have a strong relationship with these countries. It's not like they forgot us, you know? So, you know, we have a limited amount of money. This legislature, you know, is not keen on giving Visit Florida much money anyway. So if they're looking to produce results, I guess maybe that would be a country where they could easily get quick results. But
But as you mentioned, Mayor Trentalis, that's not a Broward County CVB decision.
that's what I said.
Right.
I realize that. But I know that Stacy talks with these people, and I just
No, I
want.
believe Stacy talks at these people.
Well, I will just add to close that having the Visit Florida group at the Diplomat within the midst of Visit Lauderdale is going to give us and yourself, Mayor Trentalis, an opportunity to speak to those folks and talk about the areas of investment.
Is there any additional debate? Seeing no, yes, sir.
Just a question for Stacy. The $30,000 sponsorship, what does it get us, Stacy?
Well, I'm not sure yet, Andreas. So, and that's why I've asked for up to, because I looked at the sponsorships that they had, most of which have been sold.
Okay.
The lower dollar ones are still available for like $2,500 or $5,000, but we are the destination sponsor. So I'm going to speak to Dana next week and see if we can put together a tailored package for us. But we don't want to spend any more than $30,000.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any additional discussion? Yes.
Mayor, and thank you, Mayor Levy, for making a comment. I believe that there's an individual who's affiliated with the Diplomat that is on the Tourist Development Council, and in an abundance of caution would recommend that that individual abstain from participating in a vote for sponsorship for an event at the Diplomat.
Exactly what I did.
Yes. We haven't voted yet. So is there any additional debate? Seeing no additional debate, all those in favor of the motion for sponsorship, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Abstentions? Okay. I have the record reflect that the vote was unanimous with one abstention.
Thank you. You received in your backup a resume for Matthew McNeil, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Programming for the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. You may recall there's one vacancy left on the Marketing Advisory Committee meeting. Remember that meeting where we did that? The Marketing Advisory Committee? Yeah.
I thought that is now filled.
Well, it needs to be nominated, and there needs to be an official vote taken at this meeting. So I know that Mr. Atkins has agreed to nominate Mr. McNeil.
That's correct. I nominate Mr. McNeil.
Thank you.
Very efficient.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All those is there any debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Show Mr. McNeil elected to the Marketing Advisory Committee.
That is now a full committee. Thank you very much. I've also included in your backup just three pages from a marketing campaign, from our team meeting with our agency of record, Aqua, earlier this week. And I just wanted to show you, it's just a snapshot of a couple things that we've been doing on both the leisure and the meeting side. There is a much larger package that we go through every Wednesday with Aqua. But the leisure campaign, as you can see, we have started to partner with airlines, specific airlines. JetBlue was our first. We were also working on American. We're working on United. Delta. But JetBlue was the first one that we actually implemented, and you can see that the bookings goal was 150 per week. We actually exceeded that with 199 per week. And April had a record-breaking number of bookings at FLO with 616. So this is just one of the things that we're doing, on the leisure side. And then you'll see the LinkedIn video ad powered by Possibilities, which, and the view rates, and just a snapshot on some of the things that we're doing so that you can see not only what we're doing, but how we
What came in earlier than
How we
11
what?
o'clock?
Yes, that's what I was trying to.
Okay, so
The over ROI doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
How we evaluate,
okay.
analyze, how we analyze the ROI. It's Friday before a long weekend, so that, and then
she's already on vacation.
Every day's a vacation in this job. And then I'm going to leave you with some numbers. I know most of, especially the hotel people, live and die by numbers here. So we continue our streak of outperforming the same time in April of 2019. 2019, okay? Occupancy for the week of May 16 to 22 was 80.5%. That's a 10% increase over the same week in 2019. The ADR was $145.50, which is a 12% increase over the same week in 2019. RevPAR is $118.25, which is a 24% increase over the same week in 2019. Rooms sold is up nearly 21% when comparing the same week in 2019, and we have 9% more supply than we did at this time in 2019. Let's see. I'm going to skip the, and then I'm going to leave you with, okay, so this is pretty awesome here, but it's unaudited, which is why Randall wouldn't tell you, but I will. So it's unaudited, okay? We don't typically release unaudited collections, but I have to do this. So TDT collections for the month of April will surpass what was collected for April 2019 by almost 12%. That's pretty amazing. And you all in this room and your colleagues and your peers are all to thank for the recovery that we are experiencing and how well we are doing in this destination. It has been a long 14 months.
Tell us.
And while we're not completely out of it, we are clearly closer. And there is light that continues to get brighter at the end of the tunnel. And I want to thank you all for all the support.
Different life.
And I want to thank you all for the support that you've given Visit Lauderdale these past
Monomania.
14 months, and for the acceptance of the new brand that we've rolled out during a pandemic. Thank you all very, very much for your leadership and your support.
By the way, I'm not crazy about Visit Lauderdale as someone who only represents the western part of the county, except as mayor, but that's okay. Stacy, I've already congratulated you. I would normally congratulate you again on the great job that you've done, but I just did that extensively earlier. But I think the numbers that you just showed, that you just discussed, showed what a great job. And again, this does not happen by accident. This comes as a result of hard work and careful planning by the CVB and the people in this room and the other hoteliers, restaurateurs, etc. So congratulations again. Are there any questions on the president's report?
Can I just make a comment?
Of course, sir.
So someone just texted in that they're watching a TDC meeting and someone is talking in the background and they can't hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I when I turn my mic on, I hear background noise.
If everybody who's on the phone listening, make sure that they are muted, self-muted. Yeah, we're hearing your conversation.
That's shocking. I have never attended a Zoom meeting where there's been any background noise. Everybody always mutes themselves so well. Are there any questions for President Ritter before we move on? If not, let's hear from Anthony Cordo on the budget update.
I received a request a month or so ago from a TDC member to have a budget update, so you would know how much we spent, what we have left to spend year to date with 4 months left in the fiscal year.
Wasn't me. All right. So thank you, everybody. I am Tony Cordo. I am the Senior VP of Administration for the Convention Visitors Bureau. We're going to do a brief budget overview. If at the end, because this is 2 slides, you want more details, we also have a lot of our section heads here today who can go over their own departments to talk a little bit more in depth. So before we start, just the budget presentation will be, I believe, next TDC meeting, which is our fiscal year 22 budget presentation, when we'll go through our plans for the following year. We'll also have our partners from the Office of Management Budget in to talk about the overall TDT fund and its performance and our forecast for it then. So on this one, I want to set up a couple things. What you're going to see here is a budget snapshot from May May 6th. It is our core budget, so it does not include remuneration. It does not include our revenue stabilization, which is the rainy day fund, or a few other accounts that we don't typically focus on when we're talking about our marketing spending, for example. We're looking at our core funds, so the expenses we're doing operationally on marketing, on sales, and our other efforts. So when we get into it, our core budget is about $19.5 million. And so we've already committed to spending or spent $13 million of that. On the right there, the yellow, that shows that the expenses that we had budgeted but have not yet made it into our financial system. So they may be things that either were canceled because of COVID or an item that hasn't taken place yet. So that comes out to about $6.5 million. When you see that, that doesn't mean, again, I can't say enough, that doesn't mean it's necessarily available funds. It may be for something coming up. We still have 126 days left this year, this fiscal year. The other side of that is, in the TDT fund, or in particular in our budget, it's not a use it or lose it situation. These funds go back into the TDT fund at the end of the year if we do not use them all, at which point we can always request in a supplemental next year to bring some of these funds into our budget then if they are available at that time. So that typical government idea of use it now or you're going to lose it, that is not something that we need to focus on in this room. So when we get down into the per department budgets, a couple things I'm going to point out here, and then again, we will shift over to if you have questions about specific departments. When you look at our advertising buy, this year we had a $4.8 million revenue stabilization fund that we put into our executive budget. Revenue stabilization, that's our rainy day fund, for lack of a better word. The Office of Management Budget partnered with us. We saved this money up over years and recognized that we were in the midst of a horrible disaster and we needed to really pull out all the stops to get people back here emptying their wallets. So we, in turn, took that money and allocated towards marketing. So our marketing budget right there shows a big orange bar that comes out to approximately $4 million. But in addition to that, we spent another $4 million on advertising specifically targeted towards getting people to return after COVID. That is a large advertising by $8 million. It's been very effective, though. We've seen great returns for it, and that campaign is still ongoing. And I believe you'll see a presentation from our Mac will shortly, and then again next meeting, presenting our next year's advertising plan, which will hopefully be chasing that success. So when you do see some of these yellow bars, though, again, you'll see them in areas where either we haven't had events happen or maybe something caused the events earlier in the year not to happen, a trade show or something not to happen. So that is a very high-level overview. Would you like more information, or would you like to hear from the individual departments or ask specific questions?
Are there any questions? Is there any burning desire for more granular or detailed information? Any burning desire? Seeing no burning desire. Yes.
I just have,
Mr.
I have a
Petrella.
question. So we've been very focused on the leisure market because obviously group and group business has been booking. When do we expect to transition that marketing efforts to start focusing on group, or are we already doing it?
Well, we are already doing it, and I would venture to say we haven't really stopped. Our sales teams have been on the phone since this started way before. But either Mike or Ed want to speak more specifically?
'Cause I'm just looking at the graph on the orange on the group sales. That's why.
Mike can talk a little bit more about the budget. I will just tell you, though, that as Stacy pointed out, we kept full strength group sales team, and these folks have been on the phone, they've been on Zoom, they've been in person in the key markets throughout the pandemic. We've had a few opportunities to bring customers down, and we actually have a couple coming up in June and July, right around the corner as well. So we're also seeing high volume, everyday volume of group leads come in more and more, and they're coming in for this fall in early 21. So I think we will see good group compression by the end of this year. But I'll let Mike talk more about his budget.
Hi, Mike Puey.
Mike, can
yeah.
you make sure the mic's on?
Oh, what do I do here?
I think it is. I don't know if this mic just went. You got an empty seat. Mind me going over to the seat over there talking?
You want me to go there?
Okay. Just speak up.
Okay. So yes, during COVID, the team took a very, very active virtual presence. Between the Zooms, between just really maintaining those client relations. We were also extremely busy with rebooking, obviously, groups that were canceling. and that was about 90,000 room nights. And of course, trying to focus on the future, the convention center was the big player in filling the outbound years. So for us, of the available budget at this time, it's about $1.9 million. We've forecasted, now that things are opening up, we're very excited. We've got some great sales activities, events that are planned, and now that we can do it, we are forecasted at this moment to spend about $824,000. Now that's a moving number. Every week things get better. Chicago's opening up, New York, some of those key markets for us. And so for this 427, we've got some great sales activities lined up, 25 different events, some of which are signature events, such as MPI, PCMA, and ASAE, which we're actually going to host here locally. Very exciting. We've partnered with the Seminole Hard Rock, and we're going to have 100 meeting planners that are going to fly in for that. And it's also going to have a live virtual component, so all the online users across countries can see the destination and we can showcase what we have. So of that, we also have, and again, like I said, this is changing every month as things are coming on board. We're adding more events, more sales calls. We want to get as many boots on the ground as possible in those key markets to drum up those client events and the sales calls and really connect with the customers and do what we do. Send leads down to the hotels and assist in closing them. The balance of what I said, the available right now, which is 1.9 million, the forecast is, which is 825, leaves us with a spread of about $850,000. And a lot of this leftover money was the events that we didn't use. It was over 32 events that were canceled, just did not occur. That was close to $300,000. And group sponsorships, because a lot of these groups canceled, and of course, we didn't pay the group sponsorships, and that's in the sum of $420,000. But of the 855 remaining, we're confident we can use at least another $400,000 of that. Some we may also have to look for the next year, because some of these group cancellations actually rebooked. I believe there was about 11 bookings. So, but that's what we got going on, and it's very exciting to be back. It's very exciting to be out there, traveling and doing what we can. So I think it's going to be a great summer and an even better fall.
Thank you. Before you go anywhere, are there any questions? Follow-up questions?
And that money that's not been used, we will be going before the board after the fiscal year starts for supplemental.
Any additional questions? No, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Were there any additional questions on the budget update? If not, let me just make one remark. You were talking about, this to Mr. Cordo, about the reserves. And I've always thought in my 110-year background in government, or sometimes it only seems that way, but I was elected back in the 1980s, that the budget reserves are absolutely key. I'm glad that we have them. I know that I've battled in Tallahassee on this over the decades. I think when times are good, it's not the time to reduce revenue, because you'll never be able to raise that back up. When times are good, instead of going out and hiring new people for recurring revenue, just stick that money in reserves, because we know that there is going to be times that we're going to need it. And instead of having our constant budget surplus, budget deficit, if you put away large amount in reserves, that's always the safest thing to do. And, good job. Good job. All right, next, tourism sponsorship applications. We have 3. Madam President, who will be presenting those? I see right here, Mr. Sophia. The 3, by the way, are the one is in black and white. The Worldwide Sports Enterprises LLC, USA Minor League Cricket, and Caribbean Rum.
We have 2.
There's only 2.
Yeah, the USA World is the minor league cricket event.
Okay, so Worldwide Sports Enterprises.
Worldwide Sports Enterprises is the minor league cricket event.
Oh, okay. because I have that 4 different amounts, but that's okay.
All right, so I'll walk us through this. We have an internal working group as part of our staff. Representatives from each of the departments take a look at the applications when they come in. So what you have in front of you are 2 evaluation forms with the recommendations from that working group. And behind that, you have the actual applications for the event. The first event is the USA Minor League Cricket. It is, I actually spoke to the organizer because I wasn't clear from the application, but this is a local minor league cricket team that will host 2 other out-of-town teams on each of 4 weekends. July through September 2021, the projected number of attendees is 200. The total room nights estimated is 225. It'll be at Central Broward Regional Park. We have not funded this event before, and the group's recommendation was for no funding.
All right. Are there any, am I reading this correct, that they're asking for $125 per attendee, expected attendee?
Yeah, sorry, their funding request is for $25,000, so
Right.
yes.
For 200 attendees, if I have that correct. Because I'm looking in that little green box there, it says investment per attendee $125. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
No, really, what is it? Okay, sorry. Is there any, yes, Mayor Trentalis?
Thank you, Mayor. I think for some reason that, when looking at this, it's not so much the number of attendees, and I assume you mean players. It's the people that are going to be attracted to the event locally. That's not factored in here, is there? I mean, this is an attraction that local folks, and I say local, I mean South Florida, could participate in as a spectator. Isn't that what the goal is here?
Absolutely. We're interested in overnight visitors for all of these
I know that's your litmus test. I know that's your litmus test.
And in the case of this application, as we stand here right now, they do not expect spectators until some of the restrictions have been lifted. The application does not envision spectators at these games.
Really?
Yeah, because of the requirements at the park. And we do have, I believe we have the applicants on the phone with us, so I'll let them talk a little bit more in depth. But the application, as I read it, does not envision spectators at the moment.
Okay.
Good. Nathaniel, I understand you'd like to comment. Everybody knows our assistant county attorney.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
To Mayor Trentalis's point, pursuant to Chapter 125.0104, which governs the tourist development tax, while things such as local attendees coming to an event or potentially jobs locally created in connection with an event are certainly laudable goals, they are not activities or benefits that are permitted to utilize TDT funds to support. So one of the primary provisions in the statute is that in funding an event or activity within a particular county that has a tourist development tax, the issue relates to one of the primary purposes being the events promoting the activity or event to individuals that are deemed to be tourists within the meaning of the statute, which is individuals from outside of Broward County. So I understand, and from my working with the CVB in terms of creating some of the evaluation criteria that are utilized as part of their review, the issue of local attendance at an event versus out-of-county individuals at an event is not one of the factors that can be utilized in terms of making a determination or recommendation for the utilization.
That's good. Now, well, Mayor Trentalis, let me say that I would have some interest in the future, perhaps in funding some of these, when we can reasonably expect that perhaps some of the local fans of some of these clubs will be coming in to attend. I mean, if the purpose of this is we're having some minor league teams from, I don't know what country this is from. Do we know what countries we're playing?
It's all USA based.
Oh, okay.
All of the teams are New York, New Jersey, Atlanta.
Okay. If this was an event where we could reasonably expect that the local fans from New York, New Jersey, Atlanta would be coming down here to watch their team play, that is, I believe, I'd like to see some data that they actually do, but that is a legitimate goal. But I just don't think at this particular time that is what we're looking at based on the fact that they're hosting events without spectators. Ramola? I'm sorry, Miss Motwani?
I think we don't have much information here. They're talking about room nights and, can someone explain better, somebody here?
I think we might have Mr. Miller on the phone.
We will hear from him after we conclude our discussion.
Because we have to even understand what it's about, and I think
I had
clarification.
I had a difficult time understanding the application as well, which is why I called Mr. Miller so that I could get some clarity on what the application meant. Because there's certainly a point in here where he talks about 24 teams, and I didn't understand how the hotels added up. But again, he explained to me that this is a minor league professional hockey team, cricket team, and they'll have these teams visit one team for each day that they'll have a match. So that's how we got to the numbers.
And on the second page, it says they have a designated hotel for Sheridan and Sheridan Plantation. That's all it's listed. Yeah.
And it does say that the listed room nights will be generated from the players and officials who will be visiting to participate. So are there additional questions before we call on Mr. Miller? Yes.
Just one
Nathaniel.
last thing. In terms of the metrics to evaluate success, the applicant indicated that no spectators will be allowed at the games. So that's part of the application itself rather than one of the evaluation criteria.
So are there additional, Ramola, I'm sorry, Ms. Motwani, do you have additional questions
it's
before?
the same question. If there are no spectators, then why is there a hotel?
Because they're having
for the
players
teams.
and officials. So if they're having a team from New Jersey and a team from New York and a team from Atlanta, and I don't know how many players there are on a cricket team, 15, 20, whatever it is, then that's 20 rooms per team.
This is more like a tournament sponsorship versus a event.
Well, if he can get on the phone and clarify, because Jeff has been doing it for a long time.
Well,
but I don't know exactly about this particular event.
and
Hello?
hold on, I'll call on you in a moment, sir. First, Mayor Levy.
Yeah, just a quick question in terms of, say, 100 persons associated or 200 people associated with the event, the players, which are all indicated to be from outside of Broward or even outside of South Florida, flying in for this. If 225 room nights are calculated by the folks attending times 2 nights or whatever it is, versus the
total
average daily
projected.
rate, unless I'm missing it here, do we know what the resulting tourist development tax would be if you multiply the tax rate by the room nights? I'm just curious how that compares to the 25,000 request.
That's not how we calculate this, because the ROI on some of the things we do isn't necessarily, you can't necessarily quantify what the actual TDT revenue would be, so we don't use that as a criteria. I will tell you, well,
Go ahead. Or not.
my understanding is that this organization owes Broward County $60,000 in deferred fees at the stadium.
Okay. Are there any additional questions before we hear from Mr. Miller? If not, Mr. Miller, are you on the phone, sir? Jeff
Yes,
Miller.
good morning, Mr. Mayor.
You're recognized, sir,
Hello.
if you'd care to make any remarks.
Yes, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. The minor league tournament is the first tournament that is being played in the U.S. There are 24 states that's involved in the tournament. We will be hosting 16 teams during 5 weeks of cricket activities at the stadium. Each team carries between 17 to 20 players and officials. We would love to have spectators at the games, but the current protocols at the stadium, as we speak, is that there are no spectators. We're hoping that with the vaccine, that by July 31st, the stadium will be open to host spectators. So we are definitely hoping that that can happen. But based on the amount of teams that is coming in, the 16 teams that we will be visiting, the tournament starts on July 31st and it goes down to September 5th.
All right, Mr. Miller, let me ask you a question just on your metrics. So you said that there would be 17 to 20 players and officials per league. Do these people each have their own room? Do they share rooms?
We're looking at eight doubles.
Okay, so you're looking
and
at
probably three singles.
Okay, so you're looking at 11 rooms per team. And how many nights are each of these teams here for?
There are 2 nights per team.
Okay.
16 teams, 2 nights. If you take that by a minimum of 8 rooms, that's 256 nights.
Okay, so I understand, and Romola, I hope you understand, the metric that they are calculating is 16 teams. Are there 16 teams committed that are willing to travel at this time, sir?
Yes, there are 16 teams that is playing in North, that will be in North Division, and they're all committed to traveling to South Florida.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the way that they come up with, I believe he said 256 room nights, is 16 teams times 8 rooms per night, 2 nights each.
Minimum.
So each team would be 16, so 16 times 16, 16 nights by 16 teams. Actually, are any of them local teams? Isn't there a local host?
The host is the Fort Lauderdale Lions, which is the minor league team that is based at Central Broward Regional.
Okay.
And the teams will be coming in to play against
All right,
Fort
so it's
Lauderdale Lions, which is the
15
home
teams
team.
coming in, not 16, correct?
No, 16 is coming in to play.
I thought one of them was local.
Yeah, but the local is local, but the 16 teams will be visiting during that period.
All right. I think it's 15, but all right. So does everybody
So
understand?
then you'll have 17 teams. If you want to
17
say
teams.
it will be
Okay.
17.
Okay, does everybody
But
understand?
the local teams, there's no hotels involved with the local team.
Okay. Thank you. Hold on a second. Does everybody understand the metrics he's referring to? All right, now let's proceed. Mr. Miller, did you have additional remarks before we open it for questions?
It's just that we have the only international cricket stadium in the country. 2 years ago, we hosted India and West Indies, and the economic impact for those games was over $25 million. That report was submitted to the tourist development, and I'm hoping that y'all guys will take a look at that report from 2 years ago. It's the only facilities that we have. We have to utilize the facilities, and we have to be able to bring more cricket to Broward County.
Thank you, sir. And again, I could be wrong. I think that if I read the temperature of the room, that I think that there is a willingness to do this. In general, I'm not sure that there is willingness to do this right now without spectators. So that, I think, is one of the bigger questions. So if you're done, sir, I'm going to open it up for questions. Are you done? And there will now be questions to you?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you. First one I
Thank
saw
you.
was Andreas.
Yes, Mr. Miller, is there a registration fee for the teams or by player that they have to pay to your organization to host this event?
No, this event is being hosted by the U.S. Cricket Association, which is the governing body for cricket in the U.S. And all the teams are part of that association.
So no money is coming locally to the organizers from this association to host the event?
No, it's costing us to host the event because we got to pay. We got to pay for the stadium. We have to pay for catering. We got to pay for local transportation. We got to pay for officials. So it's costing us to have this event at the stadium.
Did that answer your question, Andreas?
Yeah, somewhat. I'm a little surprised that there is no money coming from the association that they belong to the local organizers to host the event. So how much, Mr. Miller, how much do you estimate your expenses to be to host this event?
It says 125,000. That's in the
125.
Right. It's on page 2 at the bottom. $125,030.
This is a semi-professional minor league team. We have to take care of the expenses of our players. So instead of paying the franchise fees to the association for the rights for the Fort Lauderdale Lions, we have to take care of all the expenses. We have to travel to Orlando. We have to travel to North Carolina. We have to travel to New York. And all of those are expenses that we have to incur when we travel. Because we're not playing only at Central Broward. We have to travel also to North Carolina, New York, Atlanta, Orlando.
Mr. Miller, I have a question for you. Normally, not now, normally, let's pretend, God thank you, that there had been no pandemic. How many do you normally have fans that travel with you? Or because it's a semi-professional,
Again, if you look,
there are not normally fans?
this is the first year that this tournament is being held. It's the inaugural season, and we would have anticipated that the teams that is coming to visit would all be having spectators, and not only spectators, families and production. Unfortunately, the protocols at the stadium is that there's no spectators at the time being. But we are optimistic that comes July, that spectators will be allowed, even if it is 50%, that some kind of spectators will be allowed in the stadium.
Thank you, sir. Are there any additional questions? Any additional questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Miller. Members' discussion. See, I'll briefly comment, and then I'll call on the mayor, since actually I'll call on you first, because I was looking for questions. I was just supposed to talk because nobody else was.
I just feel maybe we should contribute something towards this because I think it's a type of sport that we're looking to encourage here in Broward County. Is this in the Lauderhill Stadium? Is that?
Yeah,
Yes, I thought.
it's the only international cricket stadium in the United States.
Right, exactly. So, I think we should give something. There is some connection with room nights here. I would say 25,000 is the number. I would say something more like 5 or 10, and try to continue to encourage the league to think of Broward County as a destination for future events. I don't know what the rest of the folks feel here, but I think we should just give something and move on. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Petrella, you're recognized, sir.
Well, my view's a little different, Mayor Tentalis, just because this is a time where we need to make sure we keep powder dry for when other things come in front of us that are substantial, that can bring real impact to our county. My concern is this could open up Pandora's box. Now all of a sudden, a sports tournament sponsorship, and it might be cricket this time, it might be softball, it might be soccer, and all of a sudden, set a precedence that is damaging.
I will tell you, Mr. Miller, I would not be inclined to fund this at this point in time, but I would encourage you to come back and apply again. My concern is if you had come to us and, again, there was no COVID and this was not your inaugural season, and you said, yes, we've been around for a year, and we know that having attended different tournaments, that each of the teams normally brings 20 or 30 fans or family with them, and they stay in town for an extra day or two, you know, and you were showing that it was generating room nights. I think that this is a worthwhile investment if you're able to show those metrics. But obviously, because it's the inaugural season, compounded by the fact that if people haven't got plane reservations by July, they're not going to get them. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to travel on short notice and very expensive. So I have no idea what the vote will be, but I would encourage you, if the vote is no, to come back and apply again when you have something to show us, which right now you don't have anything to really show us yet, combined with the pandemic. Mayor Levy.
So I'm going to move to uphold the recommendation of the CVB, which is to not fund this, not grant this funding request at this time for the reasons stated, and I think the executive directors or the president's report as well with regards to this organization and their previous history with Broward County, I think also weighs into the factors here. But I do also, while making a motion to deny this, do want to suggest, because cricket is a budding sport, that you mentioned, Mayor, that that we have the single and only cricket stadium in the country, perhaps,
Yes, it is the only professional international standards stadium in the country.
So perhaps the CVB could get together with the association, apart from this particular event, and look at cricket as a sport, and maybe decide if we want to really celebrate that and promote it whether it's through the United States Cricket Association, if there's such thing. We really, I think, ought to understand the sport and maybe perhaps seek a partnership that utilizes the stadium and pushes things forward and helps to expand our footprint in the global cricket market, which is pretty substantial.
Mayor Levy, let me just comment as a county official. The county has entered, Mr. Miller is a semi-professional minor league. We have leased the stadium to a professional international league operator who has guaranteed us, you know, to have a certain number, I don't recall, Nathaniel, do you, of internationally top-level teams coming in, promised, you know, again, large worldwide TV coverage of the events.
The same organization.
Et cetera. I just don't know that it's not this event is for semi-pro. Nathaniel, can you comment?
That actually is the individual who's made this application.
Right.
Worldwide Sports is the concessionaire and tenant at the center.
Thank you. Didn't really understand that. However, I think that we are paying attention to cricket is the point. I think that the county is actually looking at, you know, and has entered into the contract because we intend to be bringing in the pro top leagues in the world here. The question is on this particular event, not on cricket in general, which I think the county has taken steps to support.
As have we.
Right. So I'm just going to.
With the exception of last year.
Stacey, I'm just going to hang on one second. I'm just going to ask, is there a second,
There's a second.
for Mayor Levy?
I'll second.
Okay, now, we'll get into debate in a moment. Stacey?
So with the exception of 2020, so my first 3 summers, 17, 18, and 19, we, for the international cricket tournament, we've invested 6 figures in cash and in-kind contributions every single summer. So we do have a significant investment in cricket at the CVB, and county does as well.
Right.
Great. I think that's great.
Okay. Romola, were you waiting to, you looked like you wanted to say something. Your
Just
mic is
want
on. Yeah.
a comment, because I'm glad that you know what Stacy just said, that we are supporting it because we have invested in the stadium. It's been so many years. So I feel this sport has a great potential of international visitors. It's a great investment, and if we have already done investment, then we need to continue to support it, to build it to the place where, it needs to be. And I've not seen that yet, because I've been there. New Zealand has come, India has come, they have been bringing some international, and we have had some good events, but I think, over the course of so many years, I'm glad that we have signed something with international, some team. Is it a company, international company? that will be-
Worldwide Sports.
It is Worldwide Sports, and they have, Nathaniel, under the terms of the contract, can you, if you recall offhand, I know that they promised us certain number of international top league matches, certain amount of TV, et cetera. Can you elaborate if you know?
Mayor, Parks actually happens to be one of my other client agencies.
great.
I know that I can't say off the top of my head how many events they're supposed to be hosting in any particular given year. There are a number that are supposed to be utilized in every year. Also, as Ms. Ritter indicated earlier, there are ongoing discussions relating to outstanding funds that are owed to the county in connection with their concession agreement.
Okay. So, is there any additional debate on Mayor Levy's motion? Seeing no additional debate, all those in favor of the motion to deny the sponsorship, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. Show that by unanimous vote denied.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If Mr. Miller's still on the phone, and the members of the TDC should know this, Worldwide Sports comes to us every year for a sponsorship. They never do it when we ask them to, which is before we do our budget so that we can get them in the budget. It's always last minute. It's always 6 or 8 weeks before the actual tournaments are coming. And that makes it very difficult for us to get the ROI we need for the significant investment that we've put in. So I'm asking Mr. Miller and his partner, Mr. Purcell, to just come to us well in advance so that when we, first of all, get it in the budget so it doesn't have to be one of these tourism sponsorship applications, funding requests, number one. And number two, do it, let us know well in advance when your tournaments are so that we can get the ROI we need to justify the spend in the first place.
Okay. And Mr. Miller, again, no, sir, we're done. Let me just say again that I would encourage you, once on the minor league things, we already have but on the professional league issues, but on your minor league, show us, be in business, show us some metrics, and then come back with a better, more complete application. We're not saying no to cricket, we're saying no to this particular application at this particular time when travel is so difficult and we have no experience as to how many room nights you'll actually generate, but I would encourage you to come back in the future. The next application is the Caribbean Food and Rum Festival, and that is also being presented by Mr. Sophia. Mr. Sophia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next one is the Caribbean Food and Rum Festival. It's would be held September 5th, 2021 at Miramar Regional Park. They're projecting 6,000 attendees and 500 total room nights. They're requesting $50,000. They were approved for $10,000 in 2020. That event never occurred because of the pandemic. The working group looked at this and had some concerns about the ROI and the number of room nights that can be generated from a single day festival. While we think it's a great event, the ROI just didn't really align, so the recommendation from the staff was for no funding.
Thank you. I have a question, sir. They're expecting, have they done this before?
Yes.
Do we know, is there any verification as to how many attendees they had at their last pre-COVID function?
I do not have that, no.
Okay. Does anybody know, they're claiming that 500 people will be coming in for this one-day event. To me, that sounds
It's-
like an unrealistic number. Is there any verification on how many people have previously come and attended?
They are claiming 6,000 attendees, of which 500
Right.
room nights would be sold. We do run our economic impact summaries for all of our events. The previous one was difficult because of the multiple weekends, but a standard festival we can run. And it shows less room demand for an event of this type. Again, it's a one-day festival that is driven fairly locally. They do have performers and folks that they will put up in hotel rooms, but so that impacts that economic impact calculator from Destinations International shows a little bit less in terms of room nights.
Okay, I
Mayor.
do believe that they would have a fairly large attendance. My question is not on their local attendance. My question is, how would you calculate using whatever formulas we have, the number of hotel room nights? Because again, if most of these are locals,
Our calculation, again, it's a Destinations International economic impact calculator that figures out, metrics from events all over the country. It projects about a room night demand of 60, and again, that's very much because it's a single day event and very local. And that's the ROI that the working group looked at and just had a difficult time funding. Again, these events are great. They're great for the community, but from a tourism grant standpoint, the ROI wasn't there.
thank you, sir. Kamasha, did you have your hand up? Okay.
Yes, I just-
Kamasha, you're recognized, ma'am.
Stating that I would have to abstain because it's at the Miramar Regional.
Understand. Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Are there any additional questions? If not, is there a motion? Is there a motion? I'm going to ask somebody to make a motion to either approve or deny.
I make a motion to go with the staff's recommendation not to approve this.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Petrillo. Is there a second? Seconded. Is there any?
That was Casey?
I'm sorry?
Casey, you second, thank you.
Yes, Casey seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion by Mr. Petrillo, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. Show that passed unanimously with one abstention. Please note the abstention.
And, excuse me, Mayor Trentalis stepped out of the room, so he
Right.
was not here for that as well, so.
That's great. With Mayor Trentalis absent and Kamasha abstaining. That seems to complete the tourism. Sponsorship applications. Is there any old business? Is there any old business? Okay, seeing no old business, is there any new business? I'm sorry? Do you have old or new?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the council's information, there are several items that are going to be going before the Board of County Commissioners on June 15th in connection with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Tourist Development Council and sponsorships, including the discussion regarding potential approval of the CVB and the county being the host of the Florida High School Football Association state championship events for 2021 and 2022 to be held at the Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. There is another discussion that's going on in terms of an amendment to the National Senior Games event, which will be held in May of 2022, which the county is already the host of and a sponsor of, as well as in connection with the Pride events that will be happening in November of 2021 and 2022, which the county is also a sponsor of. We were also able to recover funds in connection with a few canceled events that monies were advanced to the organizations, and those events were canceled due to COVID and due to the excellent negotiations held by Ms. Ritter and other individuals with the CVB. The CVB is able to recover some of those funds to be able to be utilized in future years. going back into the rainy day fund as was being discussed.
Thank you. Nathaniel, or most of the things you discussed, I believe, will be on consent calendar, correct?
I don't believe consent has been determined, but I would, Ms. Ritter apparently
right.
hope so, and those will be on for June 15th before the board goes on summer recess.
Is there anything on there, I think I saw, pertaining to the actual convention hotel?
I believe that there are matters that will be going on for June 15th in connection with the Convention Center Hotel. There are other attorneys in our office that are primarily involved with that, and I'm happy to go back and get some information and provide it to your office if
Thank
you'd
you.
like. Mayor.
While we're just, I'll be briefed on that. I just wanted it for here. While we're on this, President Ritter, can you give us a quick update on the status of the hotel if you know, or if you don't know, you don't have to say anything?
There is no change in the status of the hotel. On June 15th, I believe that you will be approving, completing the drawings from 90% to 100% and approving the foundation for the hotel, which is a good start, but I have to say, and some of you heard me say this yesterday on the workshop call, 11 hotels opened during the pandemic, and 11 more are scheduled for the rest of this year and next year. This hotel has got to get built. We are already behind the 8 ball on this. Other people are building hotels, and more are coming on line every day. This one just seems to it seems to be stalled.
Okay.
It is stalled. It is stalled.
Come visit with me, and I'll visit with administration on that. That, you know, I don't want to go in without a thorough briefing from you, because they will give me the counter briefing. Nathaniel, are you okay? You okay? You're joking.
I thought we were all on the same side.
That's a good lesson in local government.
Right.
Exactly.
Mayor Levy?
So thank you, Mayor. So as we were discussing some of these local events, which I think add a lot of flavor to the visitor, to the potential enjoyment of visitors who come here to our county, I wonder, President Ritter, if we could perhaps encourage and maybe ask the CVB to, as part of their marketing effort, maybe create a things to do in Broward County type of board that could be provided to the lobbies of all the different hotels that would like it, with changeable copy, say every week, 2 weeks, month, whatever it would be, so that those tourists who are here know that there is a food and rum festival in Miramar, and know that there is an XYZ happening, a cricket event happening at the stadium. So perhaps we could help drive those international and out-of-town visitors through those boards in the lobbies. It could be a nice-looking display board that have changeable copy. I think that would be good, because I think as hotels, certainly they probably want to showcase that there are exciting things to do when their guests are in town. That would also encourage some intra-county, visitorship and distribution of the experience. And then a separate issue from that, Mayor, there's been a lot of news coverage about the lack of hospitality workforce in Broward County and just throughout, I guess, South Florida, which I know that perhaps some of the workforce that's now coming back online from the situation with COVID will help recover. However, we did discover, at least through my discussions with some of the hotel general managers, it seems like there's a transportation issue for these oftentimes low-wage workers. And I think if perhaps the CVB, if this is legal, could ask the hotels for at least zip code information from where their workforce lives, I think we'll find, as was attested to me by one of the hotel GMs, they did a study for their own hotel. And for example, Lauderhill, and that zip code was a big source of their workers, that it turned out after interviews, takes them an hour and a half to use the bus to get from Lauderhill to whatever beach where the hotel is. And so it creates a situation where not only are the wages low, but the 3 hours of transportation for that employee push that employee further to not be able to work at the hotel that they otherwise do want to work in. So I thought of the idea, and I started discussing it, of an express bus service that BCT ought to be encouraged to create an express bus route and service from those zip codes to the large employment destinations, whether it's the downtowns or we know the beaches and the hotels, to reduce the transit time of these workers to the hotels, to their workplaces. In addition to the express bus, I think another thing I learned was that childcare for these employees is a real big issue. And in a perfect world, I imagine a hub in those zip codes that will have the express bus hub, but also a childcare center next door to it and a part of the hub. Drop your child at the childcare, express bus to work, express bus back, pick up your child, walk maybe home because you're in the zip code, and we end up reducing the cost of work to these employees. So just wanted to sound that out, because as a tourist development council who wants to, also is invested in this workforce that serves the tourism and hospitality industry, we ought to just encourage the county to maybe more precisely target the opportunity to make work more easy for these employees.
Let me, speaking as mayor, and not as CVB, but as mayor, and different hat, we have put in, but through the transit surtax, we are dramatically increasing bus service in Broward. Of course, that has, gone the way of all good intentions during COVID, where, in fact, the bus service was completely free for a while, which threw our budget all to hell. And people weren't riding it, and people, there are questions as to how much the ridership will go back. But what I can tell you is that, once we are back to normal, you will see a substantial and dramatic increase in bus service, where in the past you may have had to wait up to 30 minutes for a bus. And now I believe, depending on which route you're taking and what time of day, that will be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. So we are substantially increasing that. In terms of the child care, that's a national issue that I can tell you the county just doesn't have the resources. I would suggest the cities deal with that issue.
Well, the Children's Services Council, and I know some others, we're all sort of in this together.
I know,
to use that
I just had to toss that in, because the cities are always telling the county how to spend money. But in reference transit, I think we'll be dealing with that issue, but I'm not sure.
So the seed I'm trying to plant, Mayor, and no one better than the mayor to maybe, if you agree, could maybe help with it, is the idea of asking BCT to create an express service from those zip codes. A lot of people are nodding yes in terms of understanding that the workforce comes from a certain area oftentimes, and if there could be an express bus route from that origin zip code to the beaches where the thousands of jobs are, then that could help the situation and help the employees.
Okay. We'll look into it. What currently the plans are is to have 3, I believe it is, types of bus service. You've got the traditional local. You have the one which is limited stops, which will be faster and will stop instead of every couple of blocks at some major intersections and areas of that nature. Then you'll have just the express that, for example, we do have currently express service that goes from the Panthers Arena parking lot to downtown Miami, places like that. So there's 3 types. You've got the regular buses, the limited stops, and the express. So I certainly will have no problem with discussing that, but I think one of the concerns is there's a lot of those areas. The hospitals have the same issues, and I'm not convinced that you can effectively do the types of express buses you're talking about, but we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, the only other aspect, President Ritter, is that if there is an opportunity for the industry to demonstrate that there is this concentration of workers in a particular zip code, if the hotels can help collate that zip code data and you provide that, then perhaps that could be what would prompt people to realize that there ought to be an express bus from this point to that point to justify the idea.
President Ritter, I will ask if you can, to follow up on Mayor Levy's suggestion, just send me a letter asking about that. So then when I get that letter, I will then forward that to Transit, and that will start the conversation.
We already did that.
Mayor, first off, I think that's an excellent recommendation by Mayor Levy. About 3 years ago, myself, in conjunction with Nova Southeastern University, did a data set of all the hotels and restaurants along the beaches to aggregate where their employees are coming from. He's spot on. It is in a very limited area, and I think that is a great idea. I have that data.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I also want to say that that was an excellent suggestion. If the first suggestion you had with regards to the boards, when you talked about the destination events, art, I think, is also a key component in terms of why people are drawn to certain places. So I think if there's a suggestion or some solution in that regard, I think art would be also something valuable.
Let me ask a question, President Ritter. I'm also the County Commission Chair to the Cultural Council, the County Commission Representative to the Cultural Council. How closely does the CVB and the Cultural Council coordinate in terms of doing these types of notifications of all of the different events that are going on?
Well, I think if Phil listened to me more often, he'd be much more successful. But
I would agree.
We
You're that, Phil?
We
Okay.
coordinate very well. And
Okay.
Phil and I are talk 2 or 3 times a week
Good.
about how we can coordinate our schedules and how we can help boost their attendance on the visitor side.
Is there anything else on this before I move on? Okay. One other question is, Mr. Atkins, there's been a lot of discussion on gambling legislation, and some of that has the potential, and I'm emphasizing potential because I'm not sure it's all legal, but some of that obviously would have the potential to bring a lot more tourism to Broward, whether it's at the Seminole Hard Rock or the other Seminole hotels or at the pari-mutuels. Can you give us a quick report understanding I know you're not convinced it's all legal either, but can you give us a brief report pertaining to how this might affect tourism in Broward?
Sure. I'll start by saying I would have lost the wager on the choice of Russ over you, but I'll leave that alone. The status of the compact right now is it has to be approved by the tribal council, and then it will go to the Department of Interior for 45-day period max to either say up or down. And there's a lot of confusion in this compact because this is a very broad, wide-reaching, maybe in fact overreaching compact that includes sports betting in a mobile environment. And the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act doesn't allow for that. So put that aside, if that were to be approved, the pari-mutuels would have, the pari-mutuels will have sports betting, and I think that will be an incentive for some of them to either build hotels or build, further expand their operation, which is going to draw a lot of people, or in fact, perhaps move their location, which is somewhat limited but permitted under the compact. So there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, there are ups and downs on this compact, but I think the potential for upside and maybe more investment is there. So it's going to be a curious 45 days to see where it goes from there. And then, of course, there'll be legal challenges. But I think over the next, I know from our perspective, we are looking to invest. We are looking to grow and to turn our operation into something that was intended when we passed slots, but just never quite got there. So I think there's a lot of upside.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, is there any additional council member comment, discussion of non-agenda items or new business? Any additional council member comments, discussion of non-agenda or new business? If not, is there anyone on the phone that wished to have public comment? Is there anyone on the phone for public comment?
Yes.
And who is that,
Hello?
please?
This is Lyndall Douglas with Caribbean Food and Rum Festival. I didn't get an opportunity to speak earlier, and I was trying to get your attention. I wanted to make some point of clarification because on the event itself, a 60 room nights, we have several bands coming in. With just the performers alone for the festival is going to utilize 60 room nights. And the festival is a one-day festival. However, there is smaller events happening that we're doing on a Friday night and on a Saturday. It's just that we're promoting the main event, which is on Labor Day weekend, which is on holiday weekend on the Sunday. So I don't think enough consideration was put into to get to that decision, and I wasn't given an opportunity to make any clarification.
Okay. I will ask Mr. Petrillo if you will move for reconsideration. If we didn't have these comments, I think it would be much safer for us to reconsider and then vote again. So if you would move to reconsider, you were on the prevailing side, it was your motion.
I'll move to reconsider.
All right, and the second is seconding. Is there any objection to reconsideration? Show the matter reconsidered. Sir, did you have any additional comments before we vote again?
Sure. I can also I've been doing the event for the last 7 years, and we have persons coming in from the Caribbean, from the Northeast United States, from Europe, from Canada that attend the festival every year. I would say at least 10% of our attendees. The 2018 we had 8,000 people. Basically came from outside of South Florida. So we have people coming from Orlando, from the West Coast that drive down, plus those that are flying in, and that's how we were able to basically get an idea of how many room nights we'll be using. Not only that is the impact that the festival does on the local economy, from the restaurants, the not just the hotel, the restaurant, the attractions, the golf courses, that people who, because normally what we do is that we usually even have a golf tournament on a Friday because people are coming in from out of town. So if you look at other events in Canada, Caravana, there's 1 million people go to Canada every year to support that Caribbean event. In New York, they have a Labor Day parade that people fly from all over to attend that, over 1 million persons. So with our estimation of 6,000, with being in the 7th year of the event, is just because of the COVID that a lot of persons were not vaccinated and were not comfortable coming out while we are making such a low projection. We're doing an event on June 20th, and it's just a prelude to this event in September 5th. And we have estimated that we will have about 300 persons. We've already sold 264 tickets going into the third week. So we're probably going to have over 1,000 persons. And if you look at where they're coming from, they're not just from the local area. So I think that enough, as I said earlier, I think enough consideration wasn't given to the event and to get the right information. And that's what I'd like for you guys to take a look at it again.
Well, Mr. Douglas, that's why we reconsidered, to give you the opportunity to make these remarks. If you're done, sir? All right, thank you. Mayor Levy, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Just a question to the promoter.
Lindell Douglas is his name, I believe.
Mr. Douglas,
yes.
Typically, what do you believe is the biggest draw for the event? Well, usually there's a headline musician or what have you, but we haven't seen anything that would really stand out to draw international visitation. What aspect of the Food and Rum Festival would draw that?
Okay, so the biggest draw to the event is the music portion of it. We have Barrington Levy. We're working on we have Barrington Levy that's flying in from Jamaica. Who's say it again?
That's all you have to say. I like that artist. I could sing his song now, but I won't. I'll say it.
And then we're in pending negotiation with Cocotee and also with Sean Paul. So that is pending. It hasn't been confirmed. But that's a big draw because who we put on there. Then we also have from the Eastern Caribbean. We're working with Patrice Roberts and Peter Ram, already been confirmed from Barbados. We are also working with all of the Council Generals, CARICOM, in this region to help us promote the event and to bring the rum from the different islands. So we have a partnership and an agreement with them. So, and they're also pushing the event through their diaspora across the United States. So that's why this event is so well supported, is because we have formed strategic partnership with a different organization to ensure that we see the numbers we're looking for. We started with 1,000 person the first year, and we have just grown. We have never had less than 5,000 person at our event.
Yeah, so the music, artist is typically the draw that would create a concert of international magnitude, or one which the drive market would want to drive toward. What is the ticket price for the event? Is that established yet?
Yes, so the ticket price is $40 for general admission, and usually we offer some sort of a loyalty discount so they can get a little early. If they buy early, maybe $25. And then for the VIP area, it's $150, and we also do that too. And we have persons who have bought tickets from last year who never asked for a refund. So I think we have sold maybe 200 tickets from last year that those persons never asked for a refund, that we're actually just going to roll over into this year's event.
So just to the board, thank you. I would say that, Ms. Ritter, the application seems to be a little early in terms of their finalization of who the artists are. I know they said they're negotiating with some, but if this does grow into an event that is able to book some internationally acclaimed artists, while this board here today is merely a recommendation to you to consider and provide that recommendation, I would suggest that if the board maintains its decision to recommend denial, that in the months ahead, if they somehow, and timely come with, a showing that they have these international artists that really change the direction of what we believe the visitorship might be, then perhaps the CVB might make its decision and its final decision based on that added information that right now is not finalized. I don't see the artists booked, but if they are and they're big, then we do have an interest.
All right. Is there did that fully answer your questions, Mayor Levy?
Yes.
Or is there additional debate? If not, I'm going to, okay. I'm going to first call on Andreas, then I'm going to ask Nathaniel and or President Ritter if they have any final comments before we vote. Andreas, you're recognized.
Yeah, great comments from Mayor Levy. Just one clarification for the organizer. I believe you mentioned the ticket price is $40. You show 6,000 attendees here, and there is VIP tickets at $100, $150. Yet the ticket sales proceeds, it shows at only $60,000. Is that accurate? I don't see the math working on that.
Right. So basically, we just did a rough estimate on the ticket sales, because remember that also sponsors are giving tickets. So what happened is that if you look at the sponsorship area there, right, we have to provide a large portion of ticket to sponsors, that are sponsored the event. So we can't isolate it.
All right. Thank you, sir. County Attorney's Office, any comment?
And can I say one other thing?
Not really, sir. I gave you ample opportunity now. Now we're just in questions. President, do you have any comments? If not, Mr. Petrillo, do you have a motion? Mr. Petrillo moves to deny the funding.
That's correct.
And you second again? Okay, and please show that seconded by Casey. Is there any debate? Seeing no debate, it's now in order to vote. All those in favor of the motion by Mr. Petrillo to recommend denial of the application, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show that motion adopted unanimously with Mayor Trantalis not present and Ms. Savo abstaining. All right. There any other member of the public that wishes to comment? Any other member of the public? If not, is there any other business to come before us? Is there any other business to come before us? If not, Mayor Levy moves we adjourn. Show that done without objection.
Yes.